So in this video, I'm going to break down two successful case studies in detail. Each case study will cover how we define the problem, the solution, and outcome, so the POV, and how we transformed that POV into compelling content, LinkedIn content landing page. In this document, I do talk about how we boosted the content, but for simplicity's sake, in this video, I really want to show how we take the POV and turn it into content, because that part seems a little bit abstract. I want to give you some concrete examples to show how we actually do that. So just a quick overview for FranBoost. They are a 3-person marketing agency specializing in unified franchise marketing. We got some awesome results for them. Inbound booked calls at $120 each. And these were some pretty big deal sizes, 6 to 7 figure deals, because they're doing marketing for an entire franchise. So the first step was defining the POV. So what's the problem, their solution to it, and the outcome that is produced when you solve that problem. And so we started by conducting multiple POV calls, so kind of extracting the client's thoughts, the expert on the problem. And on these calls, we ask a structured set of questions where I'm really trying to uncover every detail about the problem and its solution. And so once we had that kind of just laid out and aerated, I was able to put it into a simple and structured POV outline. And so that's what we see here below, where it's the outline, it's the scaffolding of the messaging, it's the foundation. So this way that all the content is framing the same core problem and the same core solution. So to kind of walk you through it, it's what they're doing wrong. So what's wrong with the strategy? Franchisees are doing marketing separately. So this is, directed to their ideal client. What are they doing wrong? Their franchisees are doing marketing separately. And we call this fragmented franchise marketing, just for simplicity's sake. We've given it a name and a simplified way of putting together how the bad things kind of create a chain of events. When you have franchisees that are doing marketing separately, it creates fragmented data. When you have fragmented data, you get fragmented, inconsistent results. And marketing decision chaos is the consequence of this, where the franchisees see some things working, some things not, and so they don't really know what's working, and so they're just kind of making decisions based on hunches, and because of that, the marketing isn't really working very well, and that creates franchisee investment doubt, because when marketing isn't working, when their franchisees aren't growing, there's doubt in the whole process. Should I be investing in this? Probably not. If other people aren't, if other franchisees aren't growing, I don't want to invest in my own marketing. And this goes the same for prospective franchisees. When the franchise isn't growing, you don't want to invest in buying a franchise location. And so that's franchisee investment doubt. So you can see here, there's just kind of simplified concepts, simplified versions of more complex concepts. But the way we've put it here is so that we can kind of show the logical flow of how things actually unfold. And so what pains does this strategy cause, having franchisees doing marketing separately? Well, you have to do a lot of marketing agency vetting. The leadership team has to go and vet the marketing agencies that are helping each individual franchisee. That's a pain, lots of time. And another big pain is that you have to console the worried franchisees. When they're not growing, they think that it's the brand, or they think it's the concept of the franchise. And so there's a lot of extra pains just caused when you do this wrong thing. And so when you put all that together, it leads them down the wrong path. And that path, that end location, is the franchise growth ceiling, because when you can't grow because of all of this, you're stuck. And so this is just the simplified version of the problem. And the simplified version of the solution is unifying each franchisee's marketing data onto one platform. And what good things happen as a result? Well, when you unify data, you make more effective marketing decisions, and the current franchisees grow. Again, there's missing details here, but for simplicity's sake, we put it like this. And so how do we turn this whole POV into LinkedIn content? So I'm going to show you 2 examples of their LinkedIn posts that we made and then boosted. You'll see that each piece of this content follows a structured format. So the first 80% of the post is really framing the problem, and then the last 20% is presenting the solution. And I've highlighted the problem in red and the solution in green, just so that you can kind of see how it unfolds. The way your franchise network does its marketing will determine if you reach royalty self-sufficiency. Here's the #1 marketing problem we see in franchises. So this is us starting to talk about the problem. Current franchisees and prospective franchisees aren't confident in a return on their investment. So you'll see here, I haven't mentioned anything about the root of the problem, what they're doing wrong with the strategy. So from above, I started with what they're doing wrong. But when we're talking about the problem in LinkedIn content, we have to meet them where they are. And so sometimes that means we have to kind of change around how we present the problem. But you'll see I'm still talking about the same core problem and the same consequences of that problem, just in a way that's more fit for a LinkedIn post. So they're not confident in a return on their investment. How do they know they'll grow? How do they know they'll be profitable? What's the proof? So you can kind of see these are kind of tangible thoughts that they're having. Too many franchisors let franchisees do their own marketing. That's the root problem. That's what they're doing wrong. And as a result, they can't answer those 3 questions above. We call this fragmented franchise marketing. So here, I have introduced the wrong strategy. We'll go back up to the POV. Franchises are doing marketing separately, fragmented franchise marketing. So I've introduced the root of the problem, because when you let franchisees do their own marketing, 3 things happen. Now you'll see I'm going into the consequences. What bad things happen as a result? Now I'm starting to talk about this part, but just with more detail. So fragmented strategies. Each individual forms their own strategies and decisions based on marketing hunches. This then causes fragmented data, when different strategies are being used, the data isn't consistent and you can't find clear insights. And so the way this is unfolding is kind of helping them visualize how they're going down the wrong path. I'm using a lot more detail in this post, but you'll see that it's the same core problem. I'm still talking about all of this. And I end it with the solution, a unified franchise marketing system that uses reliable unified data to drive unified results for the entire franchise network consistently. At the end of there, I would also put a link to the landing page. Here in example 2, you'll see, again, I haven't framed it in the exact same way, but it's still the same core problem. Fragmented franchise marketing is a source of many problems in your franchise business. So when I'm using problems here, what I'm really talking about is just the symptoms of the problem. But from their perspective, the symptoms are the problem. So here's what happens when you don't unify your franchise network's marketing data. So now I'm, again, talking about the consequences and the pains. So ineffective decisions. So going back to that marketing decision chaos here, I didn't use this word, but I'm still talking about it. The confusion, what works and what doesn't, wins and successes can't be easily repeated. So I'm just kind of giving more detail and showing all the problems are actually linked to this one root cause, the wrong strategy. And I'm just doing that again and again. So I've hit the problem from a different angle, explained it in a different way. And I'm showing again that the problem worsens until you solve it. And the last part, the solution, a unified franchise marketing system. Check it out here. I didn't put that, but that's where it would link to. All right, so I'm going to go then to case study number 2, which is for my own business, and I'll talk about month 1. The reason why I just go with month 1, because you're probably concerned about how long is it going to take before we start getting results. So I want to show how even in the first month, you can start getting results. So in the first month, with $344 of ad spend, I got 7 booked calls, 6 DMs, and 2 clients closed. So how did I define the POV? Well, I did it for myself, so I guess I won't really go too much into that, but I want to show you what my POV is. So again, using the same kind of outline, I say, what's wrong with the strategy? For me, it's kind of 3 root causes. It's not ideal. I think it's better to have 1, but it's going to depend on the nature of the problem that you solve. So for me, the relevant message in the content to a broad audience with an unsustainable process. This is what's wrong with the strategy. When bad things happen as a result, you're seen as just another industry expert. You're not seen as an expert on their problem, and the ideal client isn't motivated to reach out as a result. And what pains does this strategy cause? When you have that relevant message, when you're talking about tips and tricks and talking about what you know and your industry expertise to a very broad audience, the only way what you have to keep doing is get more impressions. And so the way you do that is you have to engage. You have to go and leave comments on other people's posts that you don't want to do. So that results in engagement fatigue. You have to fill your content calendar. You have to always be posting all the time. You have to find new ideas, blank page syndrome. You have to figure out what to write that day. And so there's a lot of pains with this. So this isn't quite exactly about anything financial. This is just, more emotional pain that is caused by using the wrong strategy. And so the right strategy is niche content boosting, a niche message about a problem to a niche audience that suffers from that problem on autopilot. What good things happen as a result? You're seen as niche expert you're seen as the only solution to a painful problem, and the ideal client is motivated to reach out. So there's some extra benefits produced from the result. When you're seen as the only solution to a painful problem, leads are more qualified and high intent, higher lifetime value, and higher close rate. And the dream outcome is that you get consistent agency revenue, because when you have predictable leads coming in that are more high intent, more qualified, and pay more, you can finally have that consistent agency revenue instead of ups and downs. So how did this turn into content? Again, 80% of the post is framing the problem and 20% is presenting the solution. So we'll look at example number 1. Agency founders and consultants were promised leads on LinkedIn. They were told post valuable content and leads will come, so they do for months. They get engagement, feel like they're onto something, but the leads never come. Instead, they're left exhausted, defeated, and questioning everything. So here I'm just kind of talking about their main struggle. They want leads, it's not coming in. It's a pretty painful experience. And then I'm saying what they think the problem is. Was it the algorithm? Was the content valuable enough? Did you engage enough? Again, you don't see this in my POV. That's okay. These are just details, because on a LinkedIn post, I need to talk about the details, but still leading us to the core problem. Turns out it's likely none of those. There are 3 real reasons that content creators fail. So now I'm going back to the root problem. Content message is irrelevant. The audience is too broad. The process is unsustainable. So you'll see this is what's wrong with their strategy. And when I'm back in that post, I'm explaining how these bad things happen as a result. The content message is irrelevant. Now I'm talking about how that, like why. I'm explaining that just in more detail. The same here. And then in the last 20%, I present the solution. So we tried a different approach. And you got 10 inbound booked calls in 2 months for deals that would result in up to $300,000 in monthly recurring revenue. So I talked about, we solved the problem, we produced results. Here's what we did. This way they can kind of visualize what the solution is and make sure that, okay, that does seem like it's going to solve the problem. I call in niche content boosting. Here's how to do it yourself. I link to the landing page where they can get more detail about the problem. So now I'm going to go to that landing page to kind of show you how we turn the POV into the landing page. So in yellow, I have the actual copy from my landing page. In blue, I have kind of the outline, the template, so to speak. So the heading, the desired outcome, talking about the strategy name, for who, that struggle with what. This is basically the first part. Now we start getting into the audience profiles, identify who this is specifically for, and make the right people feel in the right place. So I'm saying you're not getting enough leads, no message, you don't have time to spend hours engaging daily. So now I'm trying to target the people, make sure that the people with the problem feel identified and that they're in the right place. So now this is where the POV starts to really unfold in the landing page. So now section 3, I'm talking about the pains, the current situation, and the context. So you'll see a lot of this is very, very similar to what I was saying in that post I just made. I'm talking about you're told post valuable content and the leads will come. So they do for months, they get engagement, feel like they're into something, but they never come. And so I'm basically saying, you wanted this outcome, you went through this effort, took an emotional toll. This is what you think the problem is, but here's what the real problem is. And so then we transition to what that real problem is. Here in section 4, we're explaining what that real problem is. What's wrong with their strategy? We're going through the reason their strategy fails, explaining why it matters, frame it in a way that highlights the disconnect between what they're doing versus what they're actually doing. Again, this is talking about the same root problem, the same thing that's wrong with their strategy. And now I'm just going into more detail with it, but it's the same core problem. I'm using different words, I'm explaining in slightly different ways, but it's the same core problem. And it's the same core solution. Here I'm going more into detail about the solution than the LinkedIn post because they need to know about the solution. The problem, the reason why the LinkedIn content is more focused on the problem is because problems motivate people to action. And we need them to take that action and click to the landing page. Here, we're just putting it all together. So after they understand the problem, the solution, and the outcome, once they understand all of that, then they should be starting to consider, okay, what is your service? How are we actually going to solve that problem and produce the outcome? I like to put this into stages so that it's very easy to visualize working with you. So here I said a niche content boosting program. First stage we go through is niche positioning. Stage 2 is content creation collaboration, et cetera, et cetera. So these are, again, this is the service and how we're using the service to solve the problem and produce the outcome.